Hey guys, I'm Sean Maganelli.
John Hall.
Hey, this is an interesting topic today we're going to talk about. It's you may have heard of it, it's pretty common, but everybody is so worried about inflammation. But what it is that we need to be worried about is chronic inflammation. So that doesn't mean if we have chronic inflammation that we want to take an anti-inflammatory over-the-counter drug or even a prescription drug, because that's not necessarily good either. We want to do things that help us to regulate inflammation to the proper amount it needs to be. For instance, when we exercise and we work out hard, we experience some inflammation. Our muscles may fill up with blood. You know, some muscle lifting people, some bodybuilders, whatnot, they call that a pump. You get a pump in your muscles. Well, that's inflammation, but that's good. That says, hey, blood, let's go here and let's start doing some healing. At first, it's, hey, blood, let's get here so we can have more energy to continue doing what we're doing. Let's supply it. But if it stayed that way all the time, that would not be a good thing. It has to be able to go up. It has to be able to go down and do what it's supposed to do. When something is chronically inflamed, that's when we have a problem. So, you know, I read a study, and I'll let Dr. Hall talk in a second. I read a study that people that exercise, lift weights, and then take anti-inflammatories, NSAIDs, if you will, it has actually been shown to decrease muscle protein synthesis. That's the rebuilding of the muscle by up to 30% just by taking that anti-inflammatory drug. So that's causing a hiccup in the healing process, and that's not what we want. What we want is to have that inflammation to do what it's naturally supposed to. Come in when it's supposed to, and then go away when it's supposed to, so that that healing can happen. Dr. Hall, can you explain a little more technically what I'm trying to say here?
Not much. You just about covered it.
Okay.
But no, inflammation is part of the immune response.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the first things that happen, and when you're wounded, for sure, and you need wound healing,
mm-hmm.
or just you have a viral infection or whatever, or you get a temperature,
mm-hmm.
and that's part of it. But when you have a wound, especially. And that's what's happening when they're lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing, and a pitcher is pitching a baseball for a few innings. They're actually causing some damage. They're causing wounds to the tissues, to the muscle.
Mm-hmm. It
needs to heal. And in the process of healing, there's more protein laid down and all that. That's the way the mass is built and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But inflammation is a very important part of the immune response. And when you have a wound and you get the redness
mm-hmm.
and you get the swelling and you get the temperature, that's because there's increased blood there, and that's blood's bringing oxygen and nutrients and cells for the wound healing process. And that's critical. In fact, they used to think it's one of the 4 phases of inflammation or of healing is the inflammatory phase. Actually, there's 3 phases that are always there. If you actually cut yourself and you're bleeding, the first one is hemostasis, where you get the blood bleeding under control. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you die of blood loss, then all the rest of it's kind of a moot point. But if you just if you just have like muscle, like you're talking about, mm-hmm. and there's not bleeding on it, then they think of inflammation. 3 phases. Inflammation is the first phase then. Mm-hmm. So hemostasis, then inflammation, if you're bleeding, and then inflammation. They used to think no inflammation, no healing. Well, that's not true, but no inflammation, no optimal healing. Inflammation is critical to optimal healing. Mm-hmm. And so the problem is doctors even. So many people just think inflammation is bad. We need to get rid of this inflammation because it's part of pain is another sign of inflammation. So they're trying to deal with the pain. Mm-hmm. But you need that inflammation. Mm-hmm. For optimal healing, you want an inflammatory burst of 24 hours, maybe up to 36 hours. Then it needs to resolve naturally. Mm-hmm. And that's the deal. Now they understand there's anti-inflammation and there's resolution of inflammation. We want resolution of inflammation. That's the natural way that the body resolves inflammation when it's time to resolve. So you don't want to inhibit the healing process. I've had so many people say, well, anti-inflammatory is so important to the healing. Yeah, it's important because it's bad. So you want that. So, and like you said, but chronic inflammation, and that's the problem that we have. So chronic inflammation is bad. And we have that for a lot of reasons. We're eating foods. The really good tasting foods are pro-inflammatory. They just contribute to inflammation. And then we're doing all kinds of, then we have oxidative stress, and that's where the antioxidants come in. Oxidative stress and inflammation are linked together. So by the way, those oxidative species are important in the healing process too. And when you're taking an antioxidant, and I had so many doctors think you need to take antioxidants because that'll help no, because it's part of the healing process. So the body knows when to use those and then when to get rid of them. We want to try to help work with nature and help the body do what it's designed to do. That's what we want to do, and what everybody should want to do. So chronic inflammation is bad. So when you have arthritis and you have a lot of the autoimmune diseases, but really almost all of the chronic diseases out there have, and even cancer. Cancer is listed under inflammatory diseases. So inflammation is almost always involved, and so chronic inflammation we want to get rid of. The problem is, like you mentioned, when we start using drugs like NSAIDs, like ibuprofen and others, that'll get the inflammation over with, but it's doing it abnormally. It's interfering with normal processes that the body needs. In fact, it's interfering with other processes involved in the normal resolution of inflammation. So, but obviously it's not being resolved for whatever reason. But there are things that we can do. We need to eliminate some of the things that are contributing to oxidative stress and to the chronic inflammation. Eat the right foods. Don't eat the wrong foods. Eat the right foods. Get the right nutrients in us, and do a lot of, quit smoking. Don't smoke. If you're smoking, just need to quit. And just things like that. We're exposed to so many things that contribute to it. It's really hard to get it under control. That all the more reason we got to do as many things as we can. And nutrition, everything starts pretty much with nutrition. Getting the right, eliminating the wrong, but getting the right nutrition in us can really make a difference, because so many nutrients, just about all of the foods that are healthy for us, you look at all the nutrients, and I mean, they got that. I mean, for example, I read they've identified around 10,000 different nutrients in a tomato. Wow. They're loaded. Good food is loaded with all kinds of different nutrients. They tend to work together, and you look at them, and they have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. God just put it in food to help control all of that stuff, so that the body can achieve hemostasis and be in the normal range. And homeostasis, I mean, not hemostasis, but homeostasis.
That's okay.
Hematoma,
I mean, you get confused.
Well, I was thinking back
about
to
my
wound healing again. I've lectured about 1,000 times on wound healing in the last few years, so it flows off my tongue. But anyway, getting the inflammation under control. But when it's time for inflammation, you don't want to interfere with that. So you really want to try to stay away from the NSAIDs as much as you can. I mean, if you just have to, you have to, and that's fine, but some people are just chronically, they're taking that stuff every day, and that's a real problem. And they have so many different side effects. There's a price to pay for taking drugs all the time. And they're expensive prices. They're not cheap. But anyway, there are things that we can do, eliminate some of the bad things, but boy, getting the right foods in us. The body knows how to fix things. It knows how to resolve inflammation if we give it the material it needs to do that. So really getting the right nutrients in us is critical.
Good deal. Well, guys, I hope that it helped you, and I hope that you can benefit from this in some way. Till next time, this is For the Health of It.